we are making a bag. It's a very long sort of cylinder type of bag. This is the bottom of it, and I'm making a mesh, and you could probably make it a little more meshier than this with one strand. Right now what I'm using is nylon. This is from Red Heart. It's a crochet nylon thread, and I've used most of it. It's about 150 yards, so you can see how much I had left over. And then I also am using a cotton, and this is what was left of it, and it wasn't a full ball. So basically you just need a ball of cotton and a ball of the nylon, or a little spool of the nylon thread. Today I'm just going to use 2 cotton threads here, and I'm making them in some kind of patriotic colors for the summer. And we're using the 41 peg round nifty knitter. And also I did a spool loom. You can make this iCord without the spool loom. I'm just using 3 pegs of it to make this, and we'll do this separately and put it in later, but I want to show you it kind of goes in between some top stitches here at the end. So we're going to get started. Start by making a slip knot, putting it on your first peg. I'd put that tail on the inside, and we are going to cast on a flat panel, just doing an Ewrap stitch. We're going to go 14 stitches. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. And now this is going to become our slip stitch. Go back all the way up to the front. You want to be careful to leave your stitches loose enough. I know this cotton, I get myself and where I've gone too tight. So we want to make sure that your strands are fairly loose. I've made this one a little too tight, you can see. So as we go on, you're going to have to really make yourself be loose. If you're new to loom knitting, the tendency is to be really tight with your wrapping. I don't know what that is, but it seems to be pretty universal. Okay. So now we've done an Ewrap cast on. We are going to come back in this direction and wrap on again in the Ewrap stitch and knit over. And keep watching your screen for directions for the pattern. The pattern will be posted, but watch and I will tell you how many rows to do with each step. Wrap on our, sorry, we just did the cast on. We're going to wrap on our first row after the cast on, and we're going to do 30 rows total. And we'll see you back after you've done your rows. Okay, so you should have just finished your 30th row after the cast on row, and we know we've come back to the 30th because our working strand is over by this starter peg. So now what we're going to do is we've made it long enough to stretch it across this. So we're going to go all the way across, equally across. You're going to have an uneven number on one side versus the other, and that's okay. What we're going to end up doing is stretching it across, and then we're going to pull all these extra side pieces and stretch them over. So you're going to have to do a little bit of tugging and playing and stuff, and I'll show you a couple of those here. So I'm going to kind of start coming across, and I want to look at these and grab this looser outside part and put it over the pegs. So we're going to do the opposite pegs first before we start doing these outside pegs, the outside slip stitches. So if you can see, I'm just grabbing 2 because I'm working with 2 strands. Now your starting row, your starting peg will be a little tighter because that's where your slip knot was. So you will grab that one, or else if you miss one of these, you could have a hole in the bottom of your bag, because this is going to be the base and we're going to build from there. I'm going to count my pegs and see if I'm even. If not, I may move these over. 8 pegs, 2, 3, 7. Okay, so we've got an uneven number. We've got 7 over here and 8 over here. And now what I'm going to do is just pick a side, and we're going to start pulling these little side stitches here. If you're not sure on them, you can look at the back of them. You can look at this back area and see what it'll look like. So you want to grab these two here, and now that I've pulled them you can see it, and then it'll go on here, and then you're going to go with the next stitch that's right behind it. It'll be easier because you just did that one, and go ahead and pull it out a little bit, and you're going to double these over. So now I've got a group of 2 and a group of 2, and then keep going. So I'm going to pull this one over, put it on the next peg, and then you got it. We're going to do the next group and put it on the same peg. Keep going along here, along this side, and I'll show you when you come back what mine looks like. Okay, so sometimes it's easier to stop on one side and then finish over here and kind of work your way back. But if you'll notice, you should have, on the side that had 8 pegs, you should be able to get double stitches on this side. And then now we're going to flip it around and go the other side. And when we do this, because we have one less peg, you may have an uneven number. But try and get 2 on each peg, and then you should have an extra stitch you're going to have to put on one of these other, and it's fine as long as you're picking the stitch up. So go ahead and pick these stitches up, start pulling them over. This side's going to be a little harder because you moved all these over already, and then we'll pick back up in a moment. Got 2 here, 2 here, 2 here, 2 here. You can see how I'm kind of working my way along. Sometimes you might want to take your knitting tool and use that instead of your fingers if you're having a hard time with it. Sometimes, depending if you're working from the left to the right or the right to the left, sometimes it seems like one stitch will be better to be placed underneath, so that's what I'm doing here. I just like working from my left to my right, but the stitches seem to want to go the other way. So I'm just listening to the yarn. I don't know, does the yarn talk to you? Well, I seem to have a double amount on each side, but it looks like I've picked up all my stitches. And if you want to check, flip it over, and now you can see that we have severely stretched this, which is good because we want to have a mesh looking bag. So see, you can see how you can see through that, and then you can kind of tell these were the side or the slip stitches, and now we've just grabbed material from the side and pulled those over to stretch it. This was the first part on building the base of your bag, and the next tutorial is going to pick up on how to start building the rest of your bag. We had created the base, and now we're going to work our way up. We've still got the extra loops on here from pulling the sides over, so what I want you to go ahead and do is knit them off so that you have one section, one set of the two strands that you're using for your main bag. So go ahead and knit the 1 over 1 where they come, and then some of them are going to be 2 over 1, so you've got 2 sections on these side sections, and pull them all over, and then come back, and we are going to purl our way around. Alright, we are back, and you should have all of your sets up at the top, all these loops, so we want to take advantage of this. Don't push them down. We're going to be purling all the way around, so we're going to lift up, pull this loop off the peg, replace it, and tighten that up. Go ahead and do it again, and I've got tutorials on this slower if you need to look at those, but you're going to pull that purl up from the ocean is what I call it. Take off the old loop, put on the new, make sure and pull that. You don't have to be super tight on this project. It's supposed to be a mesh bag. So if you'll notice, I'm knitting in a counterclockwise fashion. And just a reminder, I'm not going to show you all the rows and all the pegs individually, so if you'll just keep paying attention to your screen, it'll tell you what is next, and then you can pause the video, finish your row, and come back for the next step in the pattern to make it easier. This is just to accompany the pattern that I've published. Thank you so much, and join us back in a minute. Okay, we purled our last peg here, and now we need to do an E-wrap on this next row. Go ahead and make sure everything's pushed down, and you'll notice that it's a lot easier to push down now. After you do a purl row, it's kind of loose, especially with this cotton yarn. We're going to E-wrap and knit over, and then come back for the next row. We've finished knitting over the E-wrap row. We're going to leave all of these at the top, and we're going to purl another row. Again, lifting, going through the top, pulling up, pulling the old and putting on the new. Putting the yarn on the bottom, pulling it up through the bottom, pulling off the old and putting on the new. Go all the way around and do one row in purl. And come back. I'm finishing up my last purl row, and now we're going to do it in sections, and this first section is going to be 8 rows of E-wrap and then a purl, and then we're going to have a few sections where we do E-wraps and then purls. So we'll have sets of 5 and then 1, 5 and 1, 5 and 1, but this first section's 8, so it's going to look like a longer amount, and then we'll have the purl rows, which will end up bumping out. So go ahead and E-wrap again, knit over, and do that 8 times. Pause your video, and we'll see you soon. This is the last row of the 8 E-wraps, and we're going to leave them all at the top, and now we're going to do another purl row. And what I want you to do is for the next several rows. So we're going to do a purl here, and then we're going to do 3 sections of 5 E-wraps. So you're going to purl a row, E-wrap 5 rows, purl a row, E-wrap 5 rows, purl a row, E-wrap 5 rows, and then we're going to purl another row. I'll come back after that last of the section of 5 rows. So that's 3 sections with 5 E-wraps. In between each one, make sure and purl. And be sure and be looking at the pattern that I'll attach in the description, or I'll put it in a link, and just check off your rows as you go. Put little tally marks above the instructions, whatever is easier for you, just to keep count of what you've done. And we will meet back up after that last section. So after 3 sections of E-wraps, purls in between. See you in a little while. Okay, well, great job, good going. We are almost done, and we have just done our 3rd set of 5 E-wraps with a purl in between, and now I'm going to purl one more row. This row is going to have an iCord that we're going to make on the spool loom, and we're going to use the smaller side. There's just, I believe it's 5 pegs on that loom, and we're just going to use 3 pegs. And once we get done with that, we are going to thread it in between this row we're making here, and then the next row above it. And I'm just kind of telling you about it so you'll remember later on when we talk about it. So continue on this row and meet me back up. Alright, I've just finished the very last purl row that we will do. Now we want to push these down, and we're going to do 2 more rows of Ewrap, and then we'll be casting off. Go ahead and do that and join us back up after 2 rows of Ewrap. Okay, welcome back. We are at the end here. We're going to do the basic bind off method and note where your working strand is coming from. You're going to wrap the peg that's next to it and knit off, and then take that loop and move it over to the right, and we're going in a clockwise fashion, working our way around this circle. And you're going to knit this off now, and then pick up your loop and move it over. And now you're going to do the same thing over again. So you're going to wrap the peg, knit off, move it over, knit off, pick it up, and move it over. So you're constantly moving it back over to the left next to where you're about to wrap. Just keep going in this clockwise fashion here and meet back up at the end. I do want to come back in here for a minute before I'm done and emphasize that you need to make sure and not tighten too much when you are putting your new working strands over, so that your bind off isn't too tight. We want to make sure that this opening of this bag is as big as it can be. So if you make it too tight, the opening of the bag is going to be smaller than the width of the bag, and we want it to be as large as possible. Okay, well that's that tip. Just keep going and we'll finish up this bind off. Okay, so I finished, I wrapped my last peg again, and then I've got this loop on here. We're going to pull this off, and go ahead and pick up your crochet hook. I'm using, I forgot what this is, H. So I've got this last little loop here. I'm going to take my crochet hook and tighten that up, and we're going to look over on this side. This was where we started the bind off, and make sure you're not grabbing, we're going to grab one of these over here, but make sure you're not grabbing a row. You want to grab the top part. So follow these ridges here. So this is 1, and then this is 2, and so you want to make sure and go all the way up to this one here, and count the rows here. So you've got 1, 2, and this is 1, 2. So it looks like a chain is stopping up here. So we want to grab this chain, this part, and we're going to wrap it and pull it all the way through. I find it just easier to just pop them over. And then we're going to pull on it and cut it. And now you've closed this up. What you want to do is now go ahead and thread these all back in. If you've got it a little loose, that's okay. It's going to get masked by we're going to put an iCord in here. So again, if you already know how to make an iCord, skip on to the next tutorial, which is showing how to put the handle and the bag. The iCord is going to be the handle. So we've got this extra here. What we want to do is just find a spot to work into. I've got mine pretty loose right here. I made it a little too loose. So what I'm going to do is going to make up some of the difference here and tug on that. And I want to go ahead and take it and pull it through. And then we're going to find another spot to go into. It's a little tight. And I'm going to start pulling it through, but I'm just going to make a loop right here and then go ahead and pull this through again. It's creating a knot, but I really want it to not go anywhere. So now I've got that tight. This is all very tight in here. And then you just start looping this in, weaving it in. I'm not really trying to be pretty here. This is just going to be a beach bag. It's not trying to be really awesome or anything. But we're going to put this iCord through here, and so it's going to kind of mask some of this. Oops. Okay, and then you can just cut off your extra strands. You've got that in there now. It's not going anywhere. So there's your bag, and you can see we've got the rows of 8 and then the sets with the 5, and then you're going to have this little spot here, and that's where the iCord's going to go. You're going to take your material and you're going to make a slip knot, and actually make your tail pretty long because we're going to tie the ends together. Feed it down into my spool loom. And again, if you don't have a spool loom, you can use another loom and just use 3 pegs. I just find this easier when making an iCord because it's just easier to hold on to it. And we're going to double Ewrap the next peg and knit over. Oh, that was funny. And double wrap and knit over. And then we're going to move our way back, double wrap, or now you just need 1 single wrap, and knit over. Now that we've got it casted on and done a couple, you can just wrap 2 pegs, knit over, and then wrap 2 pegs and knit over, and you're just going to keep going in that way until you get to the length of about 50 inches, 52, but one of the ways I'm doing it for this one is to take my yellow Nifty Knitter and measure from the starting peg and start wrapping my cord all the way around it once, and then one more time, but just halfway to the other side of the peg. So if you don't have a measuring tool, you don't need one. So that's how we're going to make it for this one. The reason why is because it's roughly the circumference around here, and so we're making it long enough for it to have handles, and we're going to have a handle on this side and a handle on this side, or you can make it one long one. So keep going and join us back up when we cast off. Alright, I've finished the length of the iCord that I want, and just to show you, we've got 1.5 times the width of this loom, this diameter of this loom here, and I'm going around once to this the beginning, and then another half of a time. Now this is a little short on here, however I'm not really pulling it that tight. And also if you notice, oh sorry, I'm shaking the camera, if you notice I've got this variegated yarn in here. I'm mixing it with the solid, but the variegated makes it kind of have a distinct pattern. So I'll have this I'll have red and then white, blue, white, and then red again. So my pattern is going to say white and then blue, and then there'll be another white and red again. Well, the beginning of, or where I've ended here, it's going to finish out that pattern very nicely. So I'm just going to stop here. So if you want to look at that, how your pattern goes, because what's going to happen is the ends of this iCord are going to end up connecting once after we put it on the bag, and so you want it to look like a seamless loop, and there's not a break in your pattern. So if you can do that, make it a little long or a little bit shorter, it's fine. You're going to have plenty of length in this. What we want to do is go to the left of where this is wrapped, basically to the adjacent peg next to the working strand. Go ahead and knit over. So Ewrap, knit over, pull that loop off. We're just doing the basic bind off here, and then knit over again, moving your loop over. Ewrap the next peg, knit over, pull it off, put it on the peg here, knit over, wrap it one more time, knit over, and we're going to pull this off of here. We're going to pull off, good 6 inches, 7 inches or more. I want to have a nice long tail. So we're going to pull that out. And I've got this nice long cord with 2 ends on it. Now these are really long strands and you're not going to need them, but when I originally made the bag I noticed that I ended up cutting them a little short, and when I went to weave it in it just didn't look as nice and finished. So what we're going to do is we're going to show you in the next tutorial how to put these into the bag and then connect them up and you'll be done. iCord, and now we're going to put our iCord in our bag. And what we want to do is kind of start from the inside of the bag and come up under the second to last knit row and right above where this purl row is. So look for the purl row, it's the part that bumps out, and then pull your iCord through and then leave on a good little tail here, and kind of just hold it back inside so it doesn't move anywhere. And then now we're just going to loop this on through. So you've got this ridge here, I'm calling it a ridge, this row here that you can see clearly. We're going to go over that and back through. Pull it all the way in, and then we're going to come up and we're going to skip a row. So we went back in the back and we're going to skip a row and come up on the outside and leave these kind of loose. You're not going to really pull it very tight. Let there be a little bit of slack. You see that? And then go to the skip that row and go over. Well, you're not really skipping. You're just weaving in and out of the rows. I should say that. Sorry, I didn't mean to make you skip. And then just go in and out of these rows. Whoops, shouldn't have pulled that through. I'm sorry. So you're just staying above this purl row. And the reason why I have two, we're not actually going to go in between these two knit stitches here. Well, it's a twisted knit stitch. The Ewrap is a twisted knit if you're not familiar. But I'm just going above the purled row because it gives it a nice little base and you've got extra yarn to support some weight. But we made these two rows here so that it kind of hides the width of this this handle that we're making. You can really make any type of handle you want. The reason why I made this one is so that it has a drawstring effect, and you can have the flexibility of having a really long handle to go over your shoulder, or you can have two handles for the bag, so you can carry it like a like a purse in your hand, or if you're making this for a child, those can be 2 straps that go over their shoulders. I originally made this bag as a beach bag for my 4-year-old. She's almost 5 is what she would say. About to have a birthday. So this is intended to be a beach bag, although you could really use it for like a shopping bag. You could make a few of these actually and take them to the store. It's going to be more expensive than buying some of those green take-home bags that some people have, but you could certainly wash this multiple times, and you made it unique. If you left it somewhere at a friend's, they'd certainly know it was yours. So you could wash this. This one's made of all cotton like we did, but again, my first bag that I did with a nylon cord and with the cotton, and the nylon would certainly get a lot of wear, and you could do 2 cords with the nylon, or even 2 strands of the nylon, or even just the one, and it would be more of an open meshy type bag. I originally was making it to be with swimsuits. So we're just weaving in and out here as we go. Continue on until you get to the end, and we'll join back up. Okay, now we are back at the beginning. I've come all the way to where this cord is coming on the inside. I actually have a row here and another row here, and I would have continued, but what would happen is this tail would come through here and be on this side, on the outside of the bag, and then this one's already on the inside. So rather than having 2 cords go in this part here, I'm not sure if you can see that, but rather than them 2 go through the same stitch and join up, what I'm going to do is just link it up here, and then we'll just have 2 skipped instead of 1. So what we're going to do is join these 2 pieces up by tying them together. Tie these pieces in. You can make a knot, or however you like to stitch your pieces together. I'd rather just have a knot personally. I think for a bag and a handle, I'd rather just see that it's not going anywhere. Because this is variegated, I'm not really having to be really extra picky with how my seam looks. So however works well for you. I just made a little double knot here, and then what you want to do is take your crochet hook and start pulling in these threads here, all your yarn. So just kind of put your needle in and your crochet hook in and start pulling it through, and you've got all this extra material here. So once you've got a few inches going, I've gone about 2 inches, well, almost 2 inches, then wherever you feel like stopping, and then just cut off the excess, and then you've woven in this good and tight. It's not going anywhere. So after we've got that in there, and you can do that on your own. You've got your bag. What you want to do is kind of pull on one side and get a nice long handle going, and then find the opposite side of the bag by kind of matching it up like this, and then start pulling on the cord there and feeding it through, and get an identical size. I'm sorry, can't talk. So we have got our bag here. We've got 2 handles. See that? And we've got this drawstring. You could really make it into a fully closed drawstring bag like this. hanging over your shoulder. You can have your towel rolled up. See how long of a tube this is? What I've done is I roll up my towel and then have it long ways in here, and then you just open that up, and you can certainly keep this an open, loose bag here, and then hold on to your handles. The other thing you can do is pull on it, and then you've got a super long handle for hanging things or putting it over your arm. Whatever you want to do. It's just a nice flexible bag. You could even use it as a purse if you like. So I'm so glad to present this with you and my friends at allfreeknitting.com. Thank you so much for joining us. Have fun with this bag. Be sure and log on to our Facebook site and share your creations as well. Again, this is Kristen at GoodKnitKisses. Happy looming!